tell me briefly about yourself and your teaching background?
My name is Lauren Smith, and I went to IU for elementary education, and I was a science concentration. And then I've actually taught in several schools, and I've never taught the same thing twice. I started off as a kindergarten teaching assistant, and then I did temporary in first grade. I moved down south, and I was a sub in 3 different schools just north of Louisville, and then I got a temporary, and I had 6 fourth graders and 17 fifth graders, and it was advanced placement. And then I switched schools again, and I did music and reading interventions, and then I taught kindergarten with an ESL cluster, and now I teach 2nd grade here.
Wow.
And now I'm in grad school to get my principal's license.
All over the place.
Yep.
Okay, so can you tell me how you use the flipped classroom model in your classroom?
I actually just started using it a little bit about a month ago. We were introduced to this thing called My Big Campus, and it's a place where they can go and do what is called a bundle, and they can watch videos or read directions or read some information on a new topic. They can take quizzes, they can play games, they can go to the discussion room and have discussions with each other about the information. And I just started kind of experimenting with it. I haven't full-blown gone to a flipped classroom. I probably only do it 1 or 2 times a week. And I think that it really, the fact that they get to go on the computer and talk to each other really motivates them.
Did you find it difficult to use this model in elementary, at an elementary level?
I definitely don't think kindergarten or first grade could do it, and it would take a lot of practice at the beginning of their first, 2nd grade. But because we take our weekly reading test online every Friday, and we've done some different things in the computer lab, and I use a lot of technology in my classroom, it was easier when I introduced it towards the end of the year.
How did you go about introducing it to your students?
We have a projector and a smart board, and so the first time I introduced My Big Campus, I went through the whole thing with them step by step, and I showed them the different parts of the bundle. But before that, I just had them get on and explore our group. And so they could go in and they could see where the calendar was, they could go in and see where they could send me messages, they looked at each other's profiles and started following each other. They basically just got on it and pretended it was Facebook, which absolutely motivated them because they hear their parents talking about Facebook. And so I told them it was their own little Facebook just for our class, and they just kind of explored that component of it, and then I moved on to the actual school-related section of it.
So I'm assuming the kids were happy that they discovered what they would be doing with the flipped classroom.
Oh yeah, they get on it at home. And actually the first week after I introduced it, I hadn't even talked to them about a discussion board or what you do with the discussion. And one of the boys went home and he said, what was it said? Needs custodian is what he called the discussion board. He made his own discussion board. I hadn't made any yet or had them use them. And he wrote this blurb about why EPS needs another custodian and to join the discussion if you agreed. So they get on at home, and they'll send each other messages and put pictures up. They'll send me messages, or they'll respond to like my announcements. And so they get really motivated to do, and they will go home and finish the bundles that we don't do in class. It's not required, but they like it so much that they want to do it at home.
If they don't finish the bundle, then what happens next time?
I've given them the option. Usually during Daily 5 we have a station where they do Raz Kids, which is basically listen to reading, and they take quizzes. And during that time, I've now made it where if you don't finish your bundle on Monday, you have the option to go back and finish it. But it's not required right now because I'm just playing with it.
Do you find that you have to do a lot of extra work to create the bundles?
I don't feel like it's any more work than just a regular reading lesson because I don't have to copy anything. They automatically have what they need. It's more work if it doesn't go right. Like a link doesn't work in the computer lab because then you have to deal with chaos on the spot. But to actually prepare for it, once you know what you're doing, it was really easy. The first time I made a bundle, though, it took me an hour and 45 minutes, and I lost the whole thing. I was so mad. But it was really easy. It took me no time at all to remake it. So the first time you're making a bundle, it's really time consuming because you're trying to figure it out and how to get links in and make sure that they're working. But once you get used to it, the time cuts down. And you can use other people's bundles and change them and make them your own.
Cool. How do you ensure that the students are watching the videos?
Well, because we have a computer lab where every student can have a computer, it's really easy for me to walk around and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we also have this thing called AB Tutor. And if I take my laptop down there and I put it in this zip drive, I can open it up and every single one of their screens will pop up on my screen. So I can see exactly what they all are doing at the same time.
Did the school purchase AB Tutor?
Our school didn't, but the other schools were using it, and it's something that they use for iStep to make sure that everybody's starting at the same time. And so since they were using it at the other schools, they made a copy for us. I'm not really sure how the program works, how you get it started. I just know if I plug it in my computer, it goes.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been in your classroom, but what do you use in terms of technology in your classroom?
I have 2 student computers, and I use those for RAS kids during Daily 5. And then I use the computers also as my classroom management. I use ClassDojo.com. And then I use a document camera a lot to step-by-step show them how to do things. I have a smart board, so I make a lot of interactive games for centers and whole group. I use the computer lab for my big campus. I use the iPad a lot to record them during our poetry notebook time so that they can hear themselves reading and decide ways that they can get better. I also have used that with a small group to make an iMovie, and then you all have used it to try out Poplet, and then I actually used it, I have this thing called a dongle, I think it's called. We've had like 3 different names for it, but I think it's called a dongle now. But it hooks straight into your projector and into your iPad, so anything that's on your iPad goes up there. So whole group, when you guys weren't here, I taught them how to use Poplet on the smart board by doing it on the iPad. So the whole class is a little familiar with Poplet now, and you guys have used it in a small group.
Your mini version of Flipped Classroom, do you like how it's going so far?
So far, they're very motivated by it. I think it is going to help us. Next year, we're going to a technology model called SAMR, and it's, have you guys learned about that? Yeah. So as a grade level, we're going to have to plan a unit that'll take us fully through that model. And so I think my big campus will help us get part of the way there. Redefinition. I just learned about it last week.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're going to present on it next week. So the SAMR, the R part we're going to have to figure out how to get it out to other communities. But I think right now my big campus can take us all the way up to modification. Because they can communicate with each other and...
I made it explain everything. I'll show you about it. I said I made like a little explain everything.
Send that to me
SAMR.
because
Okay,
we're supposed to do, the whole technology team is supposed to do a presentation on it, and so
Have you ever used Explain Everything? Oh, it's. I'll show you it. But I'm done with my questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.